Vinny Cervantes from Denver Alliance for Street Health Response, aka Dasher. Ladies and gentlemen, Vinny Cervantes.
Had to make that big jump. Sorry, guys. Well, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Vinny Cervantes. I'm the Executive Director of Dasher, also a member of the Our Revolution Metro Denver leadership team. And through Dasher, we work to create alternatives to policing in jail. And before I get started, I want to note that one program that we created called STAR, Support Team Assisted Response, sends clinicians and paramedics to low-level 911 instead of law enforcement. And we love that program. It could be a lot better, but we love it. But we just found out this week that the city of Denver plans to defund that program by $1 million. And so we plan to take action. Yesterday we made a statement with 40 organizations signing on board to reverse this cut in the budget. If you want to get involved, we have a table over there with our folks to sign up to fight that budget cut, as well as advocate for alternatives to policing in jail, because that is our work. And we do that from an abolitionist perspective, and for that reason I want to talk to you all about looking towards police and prison abolitionists as to how to show up in this moment. Because we know what this looks like. We've confronted it before, we've seen it before, and most importantly, we know that it is not as bad now as it will ultimately get.
That's true.
And so we have to look towards those abolitionists in terms of what we do today and tomorrow and next year, in terms of how to fight this administration. And we know that one thing that we're fighting is the deportation and detainment of our immigrant community. And we fight that because that is an insidious system. We know that the Trump administration has given more money to ICE than most militaries have on this planet.
Shame!
But these systems are connected. And the systems of deportation and immigrant detention are connected to the systems of mass incarceration and over-policing in our country. We have to see those as connected and part of one gross system. And to illustrate how some of those connections exist, we know that, as I said, the Trump administration has given ICE free rein to do whatever they want. He has requested that there will be 100,000 people detained per year who are immigrants. 1 million people deported per year. And if we do the math, we know it won't stop at people who simply have a criminal record. We know that it won't stop at people who are simply undocumented, that we've already seen people deported who have green cards or who have worked for decades through the legal process. But if we decide that as a community we don't like people with masks coming into our community, stealing people away from their homes, from their workplaces, from their schools, from their neighborhoods, if we don't like that, we decide to get just loud enough about it and just disruptive enough about it, that it will be our local police who show up to protect ICE and hurt us. No matter what agreements exist at the state or local level to prohibit cooperation between ICE and police, they will always protect that system and always harm us. And let me remind you that here in Denver in 2020, our Denver Police Department, upon investigation by our own independent monitor and other national investigations, was among the most reckless and violent of all responses to the 2020 protests. We are still paying out millions of dollars of settlements to the actions that they had in 2020. But we should also know that these are larger systems connected beyond the United States. And so before here in Denver, we ever experienced tear gas or rubber bullets or sound weapons, we should know that those weapons were tested in Gaza on Palestinians before they were ever used on us here in Denver. So we have to understand those connections and know that we're fighting something that is very large. And for all the incredible energy that we have spent to shut down the Geo Detention Center in Aurora, and giving credit where it's due, AFSC has been doing that work for a very long time. They've had vigils every single month for at least 10 years that I've known of. Colorado Immigrant Rights Coalition has been doing work to advocate for immigrants for a very long time. Groups like Casa de Paz have been helping people who come out of that detention center for a very long time. But we have spent a lot of energy trying to close that facility down, and we should know just how violent that facility is. That on one hand, already it has never been proven that caging people and depriving them of their humanity was ever a solution to public safety or accountability. But that in the case of a group like Geo, that there is a profit motive behind their activity. And so what does that mean for a company like Geo? That means that they don't feed people the way they should. It means that they don't treat their healthcare situations. It means that they don't clean the facilities. So there's a profit motive to further dehumanize people. But for all the energy that we have spent to shut that facility down, which still seems far away, the state has moved forward with exploring other opportunities to open more immigrant detention centers. they were looking at least 6 facilities in Colorado. They might have whittled it down to 4. We know Walsenburg is one of the locations. So we have to admit that we're falling behind. We have to rush to meet where this administration is going. And we have to admit that we're losing. And I don't think there's shame in admitting that we're losing that fight. But there's also no shame in saying that we have not lost yet. And we haven't lost yet because all of you are still showing up with your signs. You're still showing up at events like this. You're still showing up on Mondays for the vigils. You're still showing up for court support. You're still doing Know Your Rights trainings. You're still doing protests. You're still observing and witnessing and confirming ICE activity. So we have not lost yet because you all have not given up. And until we do, we will not lose. But what does it take to win? What does winning look like? Not just shutting the Geo Detention Center, but what we can imagine this world looks like that meets our actual needs. What can we dream of in a world that doesn't yet exist, that actually meets the things that we need as a community that don't exist? For all the people that dreamt of the concept of electricity, they lit the world, lit houses the world over. For all the people that dreamt of the concept of a book, they educated people across the globe. For all the people who dreamt of the concept of the internet, their efforts resulted in us being connected in ways we never thought imaginable. And so we should acknowledge that right now the new frontier is not some foreign land or not some other land or peoples that we can conquer and exploit and take control over. But the new frontier is our own imagination and creating something that doesn't exist yet. Something that is a more humane world absent of the systems of violence that define what we experience every day. And so we can imagine that world and build towards it and stop at no barrier, because by no means has the Trump administration stopped at any barrier that exists for him to do what he wants to do to our communities. So we should fight for that world, a world in which borders aren't made into battlegrounds, a world in which we don't punish hope, one we don't criminalize survival, and a world in which we center the humanity of all people over the profit and benefit of the very few. Thank you all.